Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the new Civivi Elementum utility, which is the same as a regular button lock Civivi Elementum, but instead of a single blade, it has the housing for replaceable razor blades. You might be asking yourself, Metal Complex, I can go down to Home Depot and buy a super cheap Milwaukee Fastback or something similar for substantially less. Why would I need something like this? And the answer is, because for a lot of people, something like this is just a lot more interesting. If all you're looking for is basic utility, then yes, obviously you can go and get something that's like that for pretty cheap. But if you're watching my channel, it's likely that you think similarly to a lot of us. That similar way of thinking is, I want my basic cutting tool to be cooler than other basic cutting tools. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is exactly what you would think it is, right? It is a little button lock flipper version of a utility box cutter or a utility knife. And it's pretty cool. It's got one thing that could be a little bit better, and we'll cover that. But real quick here, thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. This has 7 colorways and is not very expensive. I mean, compared to a standard utility box cutter, which I am certain people will aggressively force through in the comment section, is only like $10, right? This is like 42 bucks, right? So inexpensive in terms of pocket knives that you would find in the world that I like to cover on this channel, but expensive compared to your average utility box cutter that's just way less cool. I will link this stuff in the description. 7 different colorways. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. Overall length of the Elementum utility is coming in at about 6 inches. Blade length is coming in at about 2.35. Cutting edge. You get quite a bit of that blade. I mean, this really does make use of like most of the blade on a utility razor. Comes in at about 2 1/8. So a lot for the razors. Size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. Up against the 8010 and the 8020.5, it is small. Up against the Spyderco PM2, bless it, and the Spyderco Para 3, it is still small. And finally, up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca, it is, believe it or not, still small. How's the action? It's exactly the same as any button lock. I mean, honestly, any modern, well-made button lock flipper, right? It works really well, and it's fun to deploy. That's the main element here that a lot of FUDs are just going to really have trouble comprehending. Oh, what is this? Fun and convenience and fun wrapped into one package? No. A lot of people are just not, they just won't have it. But the truth is that a lot of us really just like the feeling of conveniently deploying our blade, you know, with having the added compliments of the clicks and the clacks, right? Being able to push a button and have the blade go down into the handle. It's like I said, it's not only fun, but it's convenient, right? Carrying and using this knife as a utility blade, it works really well, right? This isn't a knife that's going to excel in the world of durability, right? You're not going to be using this as a boat anchor or a means to pry the door off a bomb shelter in an emergency, but it will do exactly what it's designed to do, which is make simple cuts very quickly and very conveniently. So yeah, and especially it's going to be a lot of fun for people who really enjoy the size and profile of the Elementum. So yeah, the action is exactly what you'd expect. Carry profile, this is a very easy knife to carry. It is not very thick, about the same as the PM2 and about the same as the PM2 and Para 3. Lengthwise, length and height, up against the PM2 and Para 3, it's very small. I mean, it's just not a big object. Weight, let's get out my scale. The weight is 2.2 ounces, which is ultra lightweight. Anything that's under 3 ounces, for me, I don't even notice it. So the difference between a 1.8 ounce knife and a 3 ounce knife is pretty much trivial to me. This is just not going to be a cumbersome object for a lot of people. So if you like to wear athletic shorts, or, you know, if you're not wearing like work pant material, if you're not wearing like a heavy duty pant material, this is great. It's fine, right? Walking around the house in sweatpants, or you work in an office, great. It's just really, really easy to carry. I'll go ahead and get out my tools for hardware check. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. So as is the case with most Civivi knives, we have a T8 pivot, we have T8 body screws, we have T6 pocket clip screws, and then also the screw to release the blade is a T8, which is nice, but the fact that we have to remove the screw to release the blade in the first place is not so great, and we'll return to that. But as far as disassembly of the knife goes, it's very simple. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. There's no reason to check the blade stock thickness because this is the housing and not the actual blade, right? Which again, we'll talk about. That's a downside to using a knife like this versus a, like a pocket knife that doesn't have a lip there for the housing. But anyways, let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes. This is everything that's great about the Elementum, just in utility knife form. It does come with some extra blades, and obviously these are replaceable with the common size blades. The blades that Civivi offers are nothing special to my knowledge. It doesn't say exactly what they're made of. It's probably, they're replaceable blades. So you beat on them and you toss them. And that's the benefit of using a knife like this over a pocket knife. You don't have to baby the blade and just, you don't have to like talk to yourself about, do I really want to use this knife for that? I don't know, because if I do, then, after a long period of time, I'm gonna have to touch this back up and repair the edge. Do I really want to do it? The nice thing about using a utility knife is you dick up the edge, who cares? You toss the blade and put a new one in, and that's great. A big benefit to this knife is you get so much more of that cutting edge. A downside to using a knife like this is that if you have to cut completely in or through material, you're going to be working against this edge or this lip, which is sometimes the case with these utility knives, right? Not necessarily out here, this last little triangle. A lot of utility knives is just the blade that comes out the end, and so you can cut through it, but you're still limited on cutting edge, right? So this, you have a lot more cutting edge, but so much more of that cutting edge, right? If you're cutting directly into material, is going to run into the slip and it catches or slows you down, right? In some cases, it's just not going to be possible. For simple cuts, which is most of us, right? I myself am a simple person who just uses knives for simple things throughout the day. And I'll admit, despite being somebody who likes to carry stuff like this, right? Or stuff like this, or stuff like this, right? I don't need this stuff. Most of what I do can be accomplished with this. Probably about 95% of what I do. Occasionally, I might need a bigger blade, a longer blade, more cutting edge, right? Most of the time, this will do the trick. So yeah, this is nice, right? I really wish that they had like a quick release system, and I think that's most people said that in the unboxing, and I agree. Something that makes this less convenient than a lot of your standard utility knives that you can get anywhere is they're not quick release. Like, that's a huge thing here. I mean, you're going all the way to the whole, like you're leaning into the whole convenience thing, but you're not giving the option for quick release. That's a little bit weird. So why they didn't do that, I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit too complicated. Maybe they thought just putting a screw right there was just the best solution in terms of keeping the blade where it's supposed to be on a system like this, where the blade doesn't come out the front of the, but it's not like folding utility blades are a brand new concept. They definitely are not. And a lot of these existing super cheap folding utility blade designs have quick release systems that work. So I feel like there was a plethora of examples that Civivi could have used. Perhaps this is something that they could implement in version 2. But let's dump a bucket of water on this needlessly fiery argument. Is it that big of a deal to have to take a screw out? Not really. I mean, the only downside is that you have to have that bit handy, right? Which can be inconvenient for some people. For the most part, at worst, it's annoying. I think that's the right way to say it. It's just annoying. It's not the end of the world, but it is annoying. So for the most part, I feel like the people who would pick this knife up will probably have a bit set somewhat handy, right? I mean, I have a bit set down here in my office. I have another bit set and a magnetic driver up on top of my refrigerator. I have one out in the garage on my toolbox, and I also keep one in my truck. I've just found that there are way too many circumstances I've run into where I might need bits and a bit driver. But still, a quick release system would have been better. Okay, we've dug that or drove that point in the ground. Let's go ahead and move on. Thumb stud deployment is okay. It's just, I think it's just the size of the knife relative to my hands. I prefer the flipper tab. I think it just sort of depends on what you want. But the rest of the knife is, it depends on what your preferences are based on your hand size and what you're used to using as a deployment mechanism. The rest of the knife is exactly what you'd assume. I'm really glad that they went with an ambidextrous pocket clip. I think that's great. It has that crazy Civivi bill on there, which will almost certainly get bent out if you use this knife as often as most people would, right? I mean, this is not a knife that people are going to collect or baby. This is a knife you're going to buy if you're going to use it, right? And if you use it often, eventually you're going to walk by something and that clip's going to bend out, right? It's just what happens with bills like this, or with pocket clips like this that have very prominent bills, sort of hook over. They just do that, right? Not that big of a deal. You can get a new clip from Civivi pretty easily. I think they actually sell them. But they do have the lefty mounting position for the pocket clip, which is great. I don't know that there's really a whole lot more to point out. I mean, it's a plunge lock. The lock itself is not going to be like the strongest thing in the world, but it's strong enough to withstand a few light taps here on this, vinyl upholstery on top of this Home Depot table. So that's fine, right? This isn't the type of tool that you're going to go out and really absolutely pound on. So what do I think of this overall? I think it's cool. I think it's fine. There's been this sort of uptick in people taking the whole utility knife idea and putting it on a frame that is more expensive. This is a concept that is just completely baffling to some people, and for some people it enrages them. And they go on this, I think given the opportunity, a lot of people would create an entire PowerPoint presentation on the economics of a standard utility box cutter and why it's absurd to take the same concept and put it on something that's more expensive. And to those people, I would say, don't waste your time. This mentality in the knife community runs so much deeper than you could possibly imagine. It is really not worth your energy. But all things considered, this isn't a horribly expensive knife. I think that if you like the idea of carrying, because here's who this is going to be marketed to. It's going to be marketed to people like us. And when I say us, I mean people that are involved in the enthusiast knife community, right? This won't be something that you'll find at the Home Depot checkout counter. So I think if you are like me and you have a knife that you carry and you use it for, whatever comes along. But occasionally there are things that you don't really want to use your knife for, right? Or Randy from the parts department's like, hey, can I borrow your knife? And you're like, I don't really want to loan my knife to Randy because Randy's kind of an idiot and he thinks that screwdrivers and knives are the same things. And I just really don't want that type of damage on my nice knife. Yeah, then it's nice to have a backup folder. I think this makes a perfect secondary backup folder for people like us, because you have it there that you can use for all the stuff that you might not want to use your main knife for, right? Or the loaner knife that you hand to the idiot who doesn't know how to use a knife or uses his knife for things that aren't knife tasks. You've got it there. And it's also kind of still fun and fidgety and has those elements that a lot of us appreciate, right? I'm obviously mostly joking about a lot of elements here, but sincerely, I think that's the best role for this. Or, just sort of a junk drawer knife or a knife that you keep in your vehicle or, something like that. I think it's fine. I just really wish that they had a quick release system. But I'm not super upset about the price. I think it probably could have been lower considering, obviously a huge chunk of the cost of the knife is the blade, and this isn't that. Like when we're comparing to a regular Civivi Elementum, right? What are they, like Nitro V or something like that? I just really have a hard time believing that there's a huge amount of cost going into the frame, but maybe I'm wrong, right? I mean, who knows with it being manufactured in China? But I think it probably could have been less, but I'm not super upset about a $42 price tag. I think if you like this, it seems like a solid tool. That's pretty much all I can say. It's going to go in my cheap knives I like playlist. I don't know that it really deserves any more special spot than that on this channel, but it's all right. So anyways, I'll link it down below. You guys can check it out. That's going to be it for today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on the Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.